I know what you're thinking. That you've already tried everything. The biotin shampoo, the pharmacy serum that promised results in 8 weeks, perhaps even that viral oil you saw on social media with thousands of comments telling you it was a miracle. And yet, here you are, watching this video. Which tells me one thing. Nothing has truly worked. And today, I'm going to explain why. But before that, I need you to know something most dermatologists won't tell you in a consultation, because doing so isn't profitable for them. There is a molecule in your own body that is destroying your hair follicles silently, methodically, and unstoppably, while you spend money on products that attack the problem from the wrong side. And there is an oil, just one, that has the ability to block that molecule directly on the scalp. Not in a laboratory, not in a study paid for by a brand. On your scalp. Today, I'll tell you how to use it. But wait, because what I'm going to tell you at the end of this video about how to combine it with something you have at home is going to completely change how you understand the problem of thinning hair. Let me paint a scene for you. It's 8 in the morning. You've just showered. You grab the towel and dry your hair like any other day, and then you see it, on the towel, on the bathroom floor, perhaps in the drain. That small horror you try to ignore every time you shower. And there is a second, one exact second, where you stand there staring at it without quite knowing what to do with what you're feeling. It's not panic, it's not indifference either. It's something in between that hurts more than either of the two. It's that feeling that something is slipping through your fingers, and you don't know how to stop it. So what you do most of the time is carry on with your day. Because what else are you going to do? And maybe you've tried things. Biotin supplements that you took for 3 months without noticing a difference. Pharmacy shampoos that smell like medicine and leave your scalp feeling tight. Argan oil massages that left your hair greasy without visible results. They've told you it's stress. They've told you it's genetics. They've told you it's hormonal. And all those answers are simultaneously true and completely useless, because none of them tell you what you have to do tomorrow morning to change this. The reason nothing has worked is not because you are a lost cause. It's because you are attacking the symptom instead of the cause, and the cause has a name. I'll explain it to you right now. The culprit is called dihydrotestosterone. I know it's a long word. Call it by its short name. DHT. It's a hormone derived from testosterone in both men and women, though in different proportions. And what DHT does is bind to specific receptors located in your hair follicles. Imagine that each follicle is a small plant with roots. DHT acts as if it were poisoning the soil around that plant little by little. The first year, the stalk becomes a bit thinner. The second year, a bit shorter. By the third year, that plant barely produces anything. And by the fourth, the follicles enter what is called miniaturization. They shrink to a size where they can no longer support healthy hair. That is what you see on the towel. That is what you see in the mirror. It isn't hair that falls out just because. It is hair that has been systematically weakened by a hormone your own body produces. And now comes the part that changes everything. Miniaturized follicles, as long as they haven't died completely, can still recover. That is the margin of action you have. That is the window this oil can help you open. But there is something you have to understand before I tell you the full protocol. Because if you don't understand it, you're going to make the mistake that 90% of people who try this make. The oil I'm talking about today is pumpkin seed oil. And I know what you're thinking, that you've heard of hair oils, and they all promise the same thing. But pumpkin seed oil is not a conditioner in disguise. It's not a marketing product with an active ingredient at 2% diluted in water with perfume. It is one of the few natural substances with real evidence regarding the inhibition of the enzyme that converts testosterone into DHT. That enzyme is called 5-alpha reductase. And blocking it is exactly what the most prescribed hair loss medications, like finasteride, do, but with a side effect profile that, if you look it up, you'll understand why many people prefer to explore natural alternatives before taking that step. Pumpkin seed oil contains phytosterols, especially beta-sitosterol, which compete with testosterone for that enzyme. Imagine the enzyme as a key that transforms testosterone into DHT. Beta-sitosterol occupies that lock before the testosterone arrives. Without access to the enzyme, less DHT is produced. Less DHT, less poison in the soil of your follicles. And that process begins from the first week of consistent use. But there's more. And this is what makes this oil different from all the others. Pumpkin seed oil also contains cucurbitacins, compounds that have a direct anti-inflammatory effect on the scalp. This is important because there is something no one explains to you when talking about hair loss. Chronic scalp inflammation is one of the least diagnosed and most present factors in people with thinning hair after 30. An inflamed scalp isn't necessarily one that itches. It doesn't have to look red. It can look perfectly normal to the naked eye and still be slowly choking your follicles from the inside. Pumpkin seed oil works on that front too. It reduces that background inflammation that has been there for months or years, without you even realizing it existed. And here comes what I promised you at the beginning, and what makes this oil truly work. It is not used alone. There is a combination that significantly boosts the effect, and I'm going to give it to you now. It is mixed with rosemary oil. Rosemary essential oil, specifically the officinalis variety, has a different but complementary mechanism. While pumpkin seed oil blocks DHT production, rosemary oil acts on circulation. It stimulates the scalp's capillaries, improves blood flow to the follicles, and increases the delivery of nutrients and oxygen to the hair root. Imagine your follicles are a field that has been receiving contaminated water in small quantities for years. Pumpkin seed oil cleans the water. Rosemary oil opens the pipes so it arrives in abundance. Together they do what neither can do alone. And there is a 2015 study published in the journal Skin Med that directly compared rosemary oil with 2% minoxidil in a 6-month trial. The result was comparable in effectiveness for hair density. Minoxidil produced more scalp itching. Rosemary oil did not. This is the information that doesn't appear in TV commercials, because you can't patent a vegetable oil. Now, wait before you go looking for any rosemary oil you have around the house. There is a critical distinction that, if you don't understand it, will make all of this fail. There are 2 types of rosemary oil sold under the same name. One is rosemary oil infused in a carrier oil, which is basically a vegetable oil with rosemary fragrance. It works in a limited way, and mainly as a conditioner. The other is pure rosemary officinalis essential oil, which contains the active compounds, mainly carnosic acid and camphor, responsible for capillary vasodilation. It's the second one you're interested in, and it is never applied pure directly to the skin. Always diluted. I'm going to give you the exact protocol now. The base mixture for the weekly treatment is as follows. You will need 2 tablespoons of pure cold-pressed pumpkin seed oil, which is the form that preserves the active phytosterols, along with 8 to 10 drops of rosemary officinalis essential oil. That's it. No added perfumes, no mineral oils, no silicones. You mix both in a small bowl and apply the mixture directly to the scalp. not to the length of the hair. The length is not where the problem is. The problem is at the root, in the scalp, in the follicles. Start in the area where you notice the most thinning, generally the crown or the hairline if you're a man, or the center part if you're a woman, and apply with your fingertips using gentle pressure, not scratching, but pressing in small circles to promote circulation. Dedicate 5 minutes to that massage. Not 3. Not 2. 5. The time is not optional because massage alone, even without any oil, has evidence of improving hair density in multi-month protocols. Combined with the oils, the effect is synergistic. Once the mixture is applied, let it act for at least 1 hour. If you can leave it on all night, even better. For that, cover your hair with a shower cap or an old cloth towel. In the morning, wash as usual. And here comes the nuance that many ignore. Wash with a sulfate-free shampoo. Sulfates, which are the detergents that create foam in most conventional shampoos, remove not only dirt, but also the protective lipids of the scalp, and can irritate already sensitized follicles. Check the label to ensure it doesn't contain sodium lauryl sulfate or sodium laureth sulfate. You don't need an expensive shampoo, just one that doesn't contain those ingredients. You repeat this treatment twice a week, not every day. The scalp also needs recovery time, and an excess of oil can clog the follicular pores, which is exactly the opposite of what you're looking for. Now, for what I promised at the end, and what turns this protocol into something completely different from anything you've tried before. There is a third ingredient that you can incorporate into the treatment once a week, and that acts on a mechanism that neither of the two oils covers on its own: follicular keratinization. When a follicle has been under the effect of DHT for a long time, its growth cycle becomes deregulated. The hair enters the shedding phase, called the telogen phase, sooner and spends less time in the active growth phase, the anagen phase. To rebalance that cycle, you can use castor oil, specifically cold-pressed and hexane-free, which contains ricinoleic acid. This fatty acid has unique properties for stimulating prostaglandin E2 in the scalp, a molecule that prolongs the follicle's anagen phase. In practical terms, castor oil tells your follicle to stay in growth mode longer. 1 small tablespoon mixed with the same proportion of pumpkin seed oil applied once a week at night completes the trio. Castor oil is thick. That's why it isn't used in every application, only in one of the 2 weekly ones. And always mixed, never alone, because its dense texture makes penetration difficult if applied undiluted. Now the complete action protocol. Weeks 1 and 2 are for preparation. 2 weekly applications of the base pumpkin and rosemary mixture. 5 minutes of massage each time. Sulfate-free shampoo in every wash. From week 3 onwards, incorporate castor oil into one of the 2 weekly applications. Maintain that rhythm for a minimum of 12 weeks before evaluating results. And here comes the warning that is absolutely critical. And if I don't give it to you, you're going to abandon the protocol at the worst possible moment. Between week 2 and week 4, you will likely notice more shedding than at the beginning. This is not a sign that the treatment isn't working. It is exactly the opposite. It is the process of hair cycle synchronization. Follicles that were in a DHT-induced premature shedding phase all enter the telogen phase simultaneously when the follicle starts receiving the correct stimulus. It's called synchronization effluvium, and it is temporary. It lasts between 2 and 4 weeks. After that, the follicles enter the anagen phase together, and density begins to improve. If you quit during that phase, you miss the result and convince your brain that the protocol doesn't work, when, in reality, it was the sign that it was working. Take a photo of your scalp today, with your phone under natural light from above. Save it. And take the same photo again in week 12. That comparison will be your anchor when your patience wavers. Now, I need you to understand something about the industry where you've been spending your money all these years. The big hair cosmetic laboratories invest millions in ingredient marketing. They sell you bottles with words like biotin, keratin, collagen, arginine, without telling you that the actual concentration of those ingredients in the final product is often insufficient to produce any physiological effect. And dermatologists, not all, but many of those appearing in sponsored media and networks, have agreements with brands that incentivize them to prescribe lifelong treatments rather than natural solutions that the patient can manage alone at home. I'm not telling you this to generate blind distrust toward medicine. I'm telling you this because you deserve to know that the options are not limited to what is presented in the first Google search you do about hair loss. There is real research published in peer-reviewed scientific journals supporting what I've told you today. It isn't quackery. It isn't pseudoscience. It is biochemistry applied with materials that have existed for centuries and that generate no economic profit for anyone, which is why you will never see them in an advertisement. And that, precisely, is what makes them valuable. Do you know what the hardest part of all this is? It isn't seeing the hair on the towel, it's that moment in photos. When someone takes out their phone and you subconsciously position yourself at a certain angle, or look for the light that favors you, or simply refuse to be in it. That moment isn't vanity, it's something much deeper. It's the feeling that a part of you that was always there is ceasing to be. And it hurts in a way that is hard to explain to someone who hasn't lived it, because from the outside it might seem like something minor. But you know it isn't. This oil is not a miracle. I'm telling you this because I want you to trust it, not idealize it. It is a tool that works on the real cause of the problem and not on the symptom. And that, used with consistency and the correct protocol, has the potential to change what you see in the mirror in the coming months. What I ask of you is to give it 12 weeks. Consistency is the active ingredient that no oil can replace. This video does not substitute a consultation with a professional if you have a diagnosed medical condition. It is information so that you arrive at that consultation or at your decision better informed than before. If you've made it this far, it's because something in you has already made a decision. Not the decision to watch one more video about hair. The decision to stop accepting that this just happens and there is nothing to do. That is no small thing. Most people who start watching a video like this close it after 2 minutes because the discomfort of facing the problem is greater than the desire to solve it. You didn't do that. And if what I've told you today has stirred something, if you felt at any point that someone was finally explaining the real problem to you, give this video a thumbs up. It's not a favor you're doing for me. It's a small, silent promise you make to yourself that this time you're going to be different, that this time you're going to give it the 12 weeks, that you're not going to quit in week 3 when the effluvium makes you doubt. And now I ask you for something else. Go down to the comments and write a single number. The years you've been watching your hair change without finding something that truly works. A single number. No explanation, no context, just the number. Because until you put a figure on how long you've been carrying this, it remains something vague and ungraspable. When you write it, you will see it differently, and you will see that you are not alone. that down there are people who have been fighting exactly the same thing as you for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. That changes something. On this channel, we are not going to sell you anything. There are no shampoo brand sponsorships, no supplement discount codes, no miracle treatment to sign up for. What there is real research translated into something you can apply starting tomorrow morning. And if you want to receive the next video, where we are going to talk about the 5 foods that are accelerating your hair loss without you knowing it, and that you are probably eating every week, join this channel. Because that video is going to be as uncomfortable as it is useful, and yourself 6 months from now will thank you for it. Imagine for a second. 12 weeks from today, you're showering, you look at the drain, and you no longer feel that knot in your stomach, because what you see there is not the same as 3 months ago. You dry your hair, you look in the mirror, and you don't look away. That is closer than you think. You just have to start.